What's up, y'all? All right, so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I had been thinking to myself of like, what do I want to make a video on? And a question that I get a lot of, in just something that people kind of talk about, or they might even make a comment about to me, is, wow, it's incredible that you lost the weight, but what I'm more like dumbfounded by, or what I'm more impressed by, is the fact that you've been able to keep off this weight for about 10 years now. And so I thought to myself, okay, this seems to be something that a lot of people are saying to me. And so let me do my best to try and share my knowledge and just, give advice to those of you that are trying to lose weight, and then obviously that want to keep the weight off. This isn't something that I do very much anymore, just because I feel a little cringy being like the guy that acts like he knows everything and that he has all the answers, because I definitely don't. I am just a dude. But this has been something that I've been living with for a long time, and I do feel like I've been able to find some things that have worked for me. So hopefully those tips will help you out. I'm not going to sit here and say they will, because again, I am just a guy, but hopefully they help out. I actually wrote things down. I have some notes on my phone, which I almost never do for my videos because that's just not the type of guy I am. But I wanted to make sure that I got these ideas down. So when I was on a walk, I kind of thought about these, and I'm going to try and share them with you. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So the first couple of tips are going to be things that you should, I would recommend you kind of start thinking about while you are actually losing the weight, and then obviously implement as you have lost the weight and are now doing maintenance, or whatever you want to call it. So the first thing is to make sure that the diet that you're doing is something that you can stick to for a long period of time. And, I call this a sustainable diet. Just find something that doesn't feel like it is torture every day that you are doing it. Because yes, you can find plenty of diets out there that will get you to lose weight quickly. And yes, that's awesome. It's nice to feel that when the weight's coming off, but eventually that's going to end, and you're going to need to do something else. Most of the diets that get you to lose weight very quickly are not things that are, advisable to stay on for a long period of time, but not even that are enjoyable. Like, you just probably won't be able to do it. And that's not because it's a fault of your own. It's because this diet is, either too restrictive, or there's just too many things you're not able to eat, or it's too completely different from the type of food that you ate before, that you just can't see yourself doing it. And so this is like, I get a comment about my diet all the time. Whenever I do full day of eatings, people, some people will say, I really like that you show what a real diet looks like and stuff like that. That's why I do like to show them a little bit. I don't love doing full day of eatings because I think my diet is pretty boring. But the only compliment that I get that makes me feel like, okay, maybe there's some value here, is when people say I appreciate that you're real about the foods that you're eating, because those really are the foods that I'm eating. Like, when I do a full day of eating, how I eat on any other day that I'm not filming is basically exactly the same. It's very, very, very much so almost exactly the same, if not literally exactly the same, right? And so the diet that I've been able to find that works for me, is it the perfect diet that would be put on a pedestal and every health expert would be like, wow, John, look at this diet that you've created. It's immaculate and I'm so proud of you. Probably not. But does it work for me? Yes. And at the end of the day, the most important thing to me is, does it work for me? And so if the answer is yes, then I'm happy. 2 thumbs up from me, right? And so that's why I always say the diet that I'm doing, I'm not telling you to do it. And I wouldn't say, oh, you watch my videos, eat the same exact things as I do, because you might not even like the types of food that I eat. That's fine. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, find what works for you, something that is sustainable, that doesn't feel like you are, freaking gnashing your teeth every day when you have to eat these foods. Find something that you enjoy to an extent, and then that will help you sustain that weight loss for a longer period of time, in my opinion, of course. Tip number 2, this kind of goes along the same vein, but find a type of exercise that you enjoy while you're losing the weight, ideally, but especially when you have the weight off. Now, this is something that I have realized through speaking with a lot of my friends that have lost weight and have kept it off. Almost all of us, if not every single one of my friends that have lost weight and kept it off, has found some type of exercise that they enjoy, and they continue to do that, okay? And then my own caveat would be, hopefully there's some type of weight training in it, because I really do think that lifting in some capacity is incredibly helpful and incredibly powerful at keeping that weight off. So for me, the reason that I like lifting so much, and if you've been following my channel for years, you know that I've done bodybuilding shows. I've done CrossFit. I've done triathlons. I've done marathons. I've done all of these other things, right? I like to try a lot of stuff, but I have found what works for me. And luckily for me, I just became someone that enjoyed fitness. I know if you're someone that doesn't, that sounds crazy and you're like, John, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. I get it. Trust me. I understand. I understand that it sounds crazy. And I'm not saying you have to do what I have done. Find something that gets you to be active. All right. If you don't want to lift, if you never see yourself being a person that enjoys lifting, I don't think it's 100% necessary. I do think that it absolutely helps. The reason because like the more muscle you have, the more calories you can consume because muscle burns more calories than fat does. It requires more energy. And so therefore I am able to eat a lot more now than I was even when, I lost the weight in 2014, 2013, right? I am able to eat a lot more now than I was then because of the muscle that I have. And so therefore, more muscle, more calories. The more calories I can eat in a day, the easier it is to maintain maintenance or even a deficit, right? It just makes it easier. But again, I don't want to say that you have to lift because some people just don't like doing it, but find something that keeps you active, that keeps you moving, just some type of activity. I really, really think that's super, super important. Number 3, this one is important as well. They're all important. I'm going to keep saying they're important, but they're all important, obviously. But knowing when to stop losing weight, okay? This one is, I think, one of the most important, especially because so many people, we get so addicted to losing the weight, and we get so addicted, a lot of us that are checking the scale all the time, we see the number go down. Number goes down equals us happy, right? Number goes down equals I'm doing the right thing. And so when you get to the point where maybe it's no longer, you don't need to lose weight anymore, you're like, what do I do now? And people really struggle with that. I'll use myself as an example because I feel like that's the easiest thing to do. So when I competed in my men's physique show, I stepped on stage at basically 180 pounds. Okay, I currently walk around comfortably at around 215 pounds, right? So that's what, 35 pounds, 35 pounds, I think different, right? That's a lot of weight. And if I thought to myself that I always have to be at my lowest weight, I would be miserable, okay? And so one, I just want to, like, you don't have to have that extreme, right? Because I got very lean for my show, as lean as I could. So I was very, very lean. And then obviously through the years since that show, it's been a long time, 7 years, 6 years, right? I have been lifting consistently the entire time. So hopefully some of that weight is muscle. I would say a good amount is. Not all of it by any means, but a good amount of it is muscle. So I think even if I got down to being the same level of leanness, I'd probably weigh a bit more, right? Hopefully at least 190, who knows, right? And so just, it's very, very important to not become addicted to the number always being at its lowest, because a lot of times we end up losing weight and we get to being underweight, right? Because we've just become addicted to seeing that number go down. And so you just have to be okay with that number either staying the same for a while or maybe even going up. For a lot of people that have lost a lot of weight and have found success in the weight loss journey, that's awesome. But a lot of times it might be more helpful to actually gain a little bit of weight. I'm not saying anything crazy, but just, maybe it's 10 pounds, maybe it's 5 pounds for you. Everyone's different. But just at the end of the day, like, don't feel like if I am not at my lowest weight, I am no longer successful, right? That is not a good way to go about it. I really think that, like, to understand, just to be a regular human, right? Think about, like, the way I like to think about it is, there are people out there that have never had struggles with their weight, that their weight isn't an issue, right? They aren't, most of them, right? I'm saying someone has a very healthy relationship with food. They don't have struggles with weight. They're probably not weighing themselves constantly, seeing it fluctuate 2 pounds and freaking out, right? They are just living their life. Some of them probably don't even know how much they weigh. They're like, I don't care, right? I'm not saying you have to get to that point because that's very, very difficult, but just no longer becoming attached to the number being as low as possible, for me, has been very helpful. So hopefully that helps you out as well. These next two are going to be less like physical things that you're doing and more mental things. I feel like this is as important as well. So number 4 is going to be knowing when to kind of let loose and not be 100% beholden to the rules that you have set for yourself. And the reason I said it like that is because it's important. Because a lot of us, we set rules for ourselves that we set, right? Like we set these rules and we feel like if we break them, it's the end of the world. When in reality, we're the ones that set the rules. It's okay to have a little bit of this every once in a while, to maybe miss a workout, maybe do this. Like, do not let those things stop you. Those arbitrary rules you have set for yourself stop you from living a life. Now, obviously, there are, exceptions, and there are times where you should be more strict and maybe less strict. And obviously, everyone's going to come up with what works for them. That's going to be personal, right? But don't feel like you always have to be 100% on point, because one, that's not realistic. No one that you follow on social media is 100% always perfect, unless they're like dieting down for a show. But most of the time, they're probably not, right? It's okay to allow yourself to relax a little bit and enjoy life, because at the end of the day, for me, losing the weight and getting healthy was about enjoying life more, having more fun, it being able to live the life that I wanted, no longer feeling like I'm just existing. And so if I went from doing everything, eating everything that I wanted and like feeling like I was missing out on a ton, to now never eating anything that was fun or never going out and enjoying life, I just switched one miserable life for another miserable life. That's not what I want to do. Now, I'm not saying go out and do stuff all the time. Like, I am a pretty boring person, right? But I allow myself to have little things here and there because I want to live life. I don't want this, this weight loss, this like, oh, you got to make sure you're perfect because you don't want to gain the weight back. I don't want that to run my life, because that's, again, I'm no longer living. I'm just existing. And so allowing yourself to put your guard down every once in a while, have fun, live your life. I really think that's really, really important for keeping the weight off. And then number 5 is kind of connected to number 4, but I do want to make it its own point, is understanding and being very good at forgiving yourself. Because again, like in number 4, there are going to be times where maybe you didn't plan when you were going to have a piece of cake or this thing or whatever, and you just ended up doing it, right? You ended up doing that thing that you didn't really want to. And I'm telling you right now, if you feel like you always have to punish yourself and be upset with yourself and just like, I can't believe I did that, I can't believe I did that, it's not going to be a fun life that you're going to be living. Again, these are tips for the rest of your life, right? This is how I want, at least for me, how I want to live the rest of my life. I don't want to feel like I have to constantly beat myself up if I make a mistake, or like I have, a piece of pizza when I wasn't planning on it, or whatever the thing might be, right? Whatever the thing might be that I'm like upset that I did, I don't want to have to beat myself up and feel like I need to, pay penance for this mistake that I made, right? We are all human. We all make mistakes. Those are things that are going to happen. Learning to forgive yourself and being able to move on from that. And then if you feel like you need to learn from that mistake, that's great. I know that saying's popular, learn from every mistake and blah, blah, blah. I think that's good. But at the same time, like sometimes, hey, it's okay. You made a mistake. You didn't really learn from it. You don't need to like beat yourself up and like analyze it a ton. Just like, yeah, I messed up. It's all good. I'll move on. It's cool. It's cool. I don't need to think about it, right? Because like for me, if I just sat there and dwelled on it constantly, that's not a fun life to live, right? And that's not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And so learning how to forgive yourself, I think, is the last and one of the most important tips. I hope that those helped. I know it was a little all over the place. I tried to condense it as much as I could. This is stuff that I can talk about for a really long time, but at the end of the day, like I want people that lose the weight to be successful. And when I say successful, that means in my head to keep it off, right? For the rest of your life, if that's what you want to do. And that doesn't mean all of the weight. You might gain a little bit back. You might, but for the most part, the weight that lose the weight that you feel like is making you unhealthy. If you're able to do that and keep it off, then you're successful in my book, right? And so hopefully these tips helped you out. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not some sort of expert that has all the answers. I'm just a dude, but I wanted to share the things that I've noticed that I've implemented in my life that I feel have helped me, lose the weight, but obviously keep the weight off for this extended period of time. Something that I am really proud of, but it's also something that I don't think about constantly day in and day out. This is just the life that I live, and these are the things that I found that worked for me. And so at the end of the day, I hope it helps you out. If you have any tips or anything that maybe you've lost weight and kept it off, and you want to share what you feel like might help other people, by all means, I would love to have you comment down in the comment section. Let us know what you might think would work. If you disagree with me, let me know. You know, again, I'm just a dude, and so I'm just trying to help. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize. You know, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just trying to help. And so let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.